just talking about how impactful music is, and the reason we love movies so much is because of the soundtrack.
Well, that's what I did for a living. I recorded soundtracks before.
And music just goes right into here.
It does.
And I encourage everyone to go and check out Lee Harris's music.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's a vibrational frequency that is communicating energetically.
And that's where the healing is.
Yes.
Too. I mean, if you haven't read the book, just listen to his music. And you get
thank you for sharing that, because I was a huge movie buff as a teen, and it took me years to work out. I had all these soundtrack CDs in my house.
Yes.
Like, why do you have all these soundtracks? You know, I was the only person I knew doing it, and it took me years to go, part of movies for me is the music. So I'm very aligned with you guys there. And that's cool, Lee, to know that you used to record soundtracks.
That's what I did. So I guess I could end it now and say thank you, but there's one very profound question that everybody wants to know, and that is, are you going to grow your beard back?
Well, that's been I decided just to shave it off on Friday, because I thought, I'll just see what it looks like. I haven't seen it for a while, and I've had very differing opinions from my mom, from my husband, from my friends. The people are like, grow it back, don't grow it back. And I'm like, so I don't know what I'll do.
I know we're going to get letters that say, that wasn't really Lee Harris. I know what he looks like. You know, it's right.
I did think to myself, oh no, I did a photo shoot for the website because we didn't have any photos of me with the beard, and they've only been up for 3 months. I don't want to do all that again, so maybe I'll just have to grow it back for a while till I can be bothered to do all that again.
Oh dear. Thank you.
I just wanted to say I love what you've done with your hair.
Oh yes, I love what you've done with your hair and your beard. So
thank you.
Okay. And on that note, go ahead, Monica.
On that note, it has been so delightful having you share your energy, wisdom, and knowledge with us. I had so much information come in this short time with you. I'm sure everyone listening and tuning in to this has as well. So please make sure you go and check out leeharrisenergy.com. We are going to take a 10-minute break, and then we'll be back for the Circle of 12.
Welcome back, everyone. I love Lee Harris.
I know.
Just let's
Absolutely.
just say it. It's great to have these guests on. I'm in love, I think, with all of our guests every time we come back from break from anyone. But this was very, very special, and I'm so pleased that he said yes to be on our show because I know he's a very busy guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you hear the wisdom that he shares, it's universal. And I think that's when you resonate to that message, it has deep grains of truth.
It makes so much sense as well. And I love to hear it. I love to hear the things that I teach presented again in a more, I would say, upscale way, and meaning that it's a more contemporary, different words, a younger person. And he's the guy,
Absolutely.
as far as I'm concerned. I just, and his music. And I'm sorry we didn't really even get into that as much. And we just love music. And
Absolutely.
he's got some great stuff.
Yeah, I think you can go to leeharrismusic.com and that should take you to look at all of his music albums. So we probably need to move into the Circle of 12.
I think people want that.
Yeah, I want that. So as we prepare for the Circle of 12, many of you are joining for the very first time, while others have been doing the Circle of 12 experience for at least a year now. And whatever stage of the Circle of 12 experience you have had, I ask that you release all expectations. Enter into this experience as though this is the first time you are going into a new journey of discovery. Some of you may get visuals and visualizations. Others of you may not see anything visual. You may simply have a feeling. And whatever it is that you are experiencing, trust that it is happening exactly as you need it. Simply be present, observe, no judgment, let the experience unfold. And the best way we can allow that experience to unfold is to close our eyes, relax your body, and be in a position of being open to receive and have an allowance to connect with the beautiful energy of your magnificent soul.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon. Come a little closer. The Circle of 12 is a meditation that is guided in a way that might help you to understand more about you. I'd like to reference the channeling of earlier today in this program. We started describing how big truly the human being is on a spiritual scale. Not the human being in the skin that you say is you, but the one that is far, far grander, for every single human being has that soul. It leads you to start to ask some questions. One of the questions that I would hope you would ask is this: if I am really that big, what is it that would keep me from being able to simply talk to the cosmos? After all, I'm from there. Why is it that I feel so sequestered, or perhaps so small, or so unloved, some say? And these are the very questions that we ponder and work with you. For dear ones, perhaps it's time for you to understand, finally, the tools that have always been yours. Let's go back to the channeling for a moment of today. We spoke of the human being's multidimensionality. We spoke of the science that is starting to be yours that show that there are things in multidimensionality that are profoundly different than anything you experience today. There are some who say, well, we're moving into a new dimension. Actually, you are moving into all the dimensions. You have been four dimensions bound, I would say, for eons. The four dimensions, height, width, depth, time, that's been you. A multidimensional human being is one that starts to expand into the things that we are now speaking of. Starting to be aware of a consciousness that might be immense. If you are becoming multidimensional, and you are, do you understand that that allows you to have a communication that is beyond the veil? More than that. What if you started to understand that your consciousness can be entangled with the very DNA of your body? How many of you are aware that all humans have the potential for what I will call self-channeling? You've been taught that you go to the doctor, you get a prescription, you take a pill, or you go somewhere and you get advice, or you get the points that you need, or you have the lists that you need, and then you activate the lists and you do this and that, and then you wait. This is a linear attitude. It is a linear process, and it's all you've ever known. You grew up with this. This has been your reality. And now teachers are starting to give you information that says the very thing that is inside you and always has been, and you can call it whatever you want to. We'll say innate, higher self, any of these things that are part of your multidimensional selves, they've always been there. They're responsible for spontaneous remission in the magic that you've seen, that you desire, and you say, if I could only have that, or what can I do for it? Let's get another book, let's get another process, let's get another pill. It just sits there in front of you, looking at you, saying, well, why don't you try me? And it's you. Your face is looking at you in the mirror in a multidimensional way with a funny expression on its face and saying, are you ready yet? That is the truth. There is so much more to you than some of you have ever been told. What's your belief system? How many belief systems were featuring something that is perhaps not well accepted, that would say, did you know that you are God? Blasphemous, of course. That's what you've been taught it is. What if it were sparks of the truth? If your soul is part of the creative source, God made your soul not apart from God, but part of God. Your soul is part of the creative source of the universe. Therefore, you are a part of God. What about the namaste? What does that mean? Have you ever analyzed that? The God in me meets the God in you. The God in you meets the God in me. This has been the ancient greeting. Did you ever think about what that meant? What God are they talking about? They're talking about some human God in some skin in a faraway land? No, they're talking about the creative God, the one that you know as God. If you even want to use the word God, Spirit. You have always been part of the cosmos. Always. We've told you that the soul is eternal. There are so many belief systems on the planet that would negate even the idea of that. They say, well, you have a soul, but you know you got it when you were born, and then it goes from there. Instead of, perhaps it was always there. And if it were, what has it been doing since it was created? And then we said, well, it never was created any more than God was created, so it's always been there. Did it just simply arrive for your birth? Or perhaps there's a grander plan. What if you have been here with this soul many times on this planet, and maybe even other planets, maybe even other universes, if you've always had a soul, dear ones? You are immense. So how does that apply to right now, you might say? How does that apply to my life, Kryon, right now as I sit here in troubled times? And I will tell you, if you will start understanding that there is a evolution going on in your consciousness, if you will acknowledge, perhaps, just perhaps, that applies to you, or you sit there and go, it applies to me, and you start affirming to your own selves, I am feeling my multidimensionality, and therefore I am starting to see what I can do. Are you truly entangled with your cellular structure? That means that your consciousness is not apart from your body. Your whole culture has always told you that you have no effect on your body. You sit there and simply watch it do whatever it does. You know I'm right. You're told almost from birth, something hurts, you look at it and go, I don't know why. You're like a part of it. You've got to go someplace and get a pill or whatever to correct it. Not saying I hurt, but it hurts. My hand hurts instead of I hurt. You are every cell in your body in a multidimensional way. Every one. You are the dirt of the earth. Did you know that? You're so big. Your soul is encompassing all things that are. You are part of this planet and the sentience of it. So is it too much to ask that you would cross a bridge with me into an unknown area that simply starts to let you see it? That's what the Circle of 12 is. Live stream does. So, just all that saying, Monica, welcome. I've done a lot of talking.
That's
here.
great, though.
And thank you for the index. Again, I use it because I like to refresh myself on what has happened.
Well, I think what drives me is that we don't all have that ability to remember. Even me, I can't remember all the episodes that we've now done. So I've said it once before in a Q&A part where a short pencil is better than a long memory. And I actually want to encourage you as well to start journaling your own Circle of 12 experiences. Many of you have profound, amazing experiences and then you forget all about them. But if you journal it in a book, you can go back and revisit that. So I do want to encourage that as well. So now, talking of questions and answers, we want to move to that part of the program. A few guidelines for submitting questions. Think about how they will benefit other people when you submit your question. And we discourage having really deep, meaningful, personal questions about your personal issues, and make those questions concise and short. You can submit that in your portal. It's very easy. There's a button there. And you can also go to cryonmasters.com/questions. So let's look at our first one for this episode. We have Betsy from Salt Lake City in Utah, US. Betsy is saying, I am tired of waiting for the big shift. How much longer? We, the people of Earth, need it soon. I hear you, Betsy, and so does Lee. So what's your response to Betsy, who's clearly frustrated?
Betsy's not alone. I think we're all frustrated. Betsy, can I rewrite your question? Do you mind? We'll call it reframe. We call it the Great Shift, and this shift has really been on us, with us, upon us for 9 years. Since 2012, that was when it was supposed to occur, and it did. Perhaps the reframe, I'd say, is you're tired of waiting for the promised effects of the shift. That's a whole lot different.
Yes.
And this is, I would say, one of the big questions, and it can be framed by so many questions we have, that really truly is a frustration.
Yeah.
When is this going to occur? When is that going to occur? Because
our world has changed.
Our world has changed.
Since 2020,
Yeah.
you cannot deny that the world you were operating and living in has changed.
And the other thing, too, is what is frustrating is to see it appear to go backwards. And it's frustrating for all of us and me. And Kryon has to keep reminding me that we are seeing the light illuminating the bad stuff.
Yeah, and we don't like it.
And that it just seems to be that has to happen before we can clean it up. I had a little phrase, let me tell you. The pregnant elephant looks down at her womb and she yells, "Why is it taking so long? I'm tired of waiting." So 2 years later, her birth begins. Women, are you listening? 2 years later, she begins the birth. And the joy of that new energy begins, and that, from then on, the work never stops. That is the metaphor, I would think, of this great shift. And indeed, we're frustrated. So the planet, you might say, is pregnant with the effects of this shift. Slowly, I'll say, the metaphor, that bulge of awareness grows until the birth of a new energy really, really starts to occur. Then the work, after that, starts and never stops, actually. This is not a flash-in-the-pan event. You could ask an indigenous how this works, and they'll tell you it's a new cycle, and the cycles are very slow, but the cycle is an expected good one. Therefore, in answer to your question, I'd say, be peaceful that the shift is actually happening, and then try to be patient the best way you can with all of the attributes that seem frustrating. That's a great question, Betsy. We chose your question, Monica and I, out of so many of these because we see that it reflects the frustration of so many people who say, why is this happening now? Why is that happening now? When Kryon said we're in a shift. By the way, Kryon said it, but so did the indigenous, and so did so many others who are in touch with what's going on this planet. This is a cycle. So thank you, Betsy, for that. And we do share definitely that frustration with you daily sometimes.
Yeah. So our next question is from Wendy, and Wendy's from California in the US, and she tells us that she has been enjoying participating in the Circle of 12 experiences since the opportunity first began. And she recently had an amazing healing experience while she was in the emergency room during a CT scan, which was being done to rule out possible causes for a very serious month-long headache following the COVID-19 vaccine. At the end of that CT scan, she could feel an energy shift, and her headache pain was significantly reduced. Turmoil is everywhere in every situation. There was a story from Faith and Clement in Kryon Book 9, that's called The New Beginning. They write about how they went through a civil war in Africa in 1998 and how Kryon's messages were a beacon lighting their way through the darkest night. Now, their story goes into both perspectives from Fate and Clement, and how they were facing these terrible civil war in Africa and how they navigated through it because they had messages of hope from Kryon. So I think the real answer is always about having a message of hope, and you can create that within yourself by going into coherence, focusing on the heart, connecting the triangle of your brain and your pineal, and be in coherence. And just remember, you have an entire community of souls that are with you as you do that. So I hope that answers the questions that...
Well, we could even go further, and this is, I didn't expect to do this, but this is, wow, it's affecting me. I want to have hope for our country, for what it's going through. It doesn't have missiles, but it's to some, it's just as bad.
Yes.
Because there are things happening now that are taking our breath away. They're different. People are worried. There's fear. There's anger and all that. It's why we developed the Circle of 12 now a year ago.
I think you could say globally.
Globally.
There is not a country on this planet right now that doesn't have individuals looking at what they see on the media or around them and think, oh my goodness, when is this going to end?
We have such a global family. I think it'd be great for us all to take a moment, even before we go to bed tonight, and give hope for those who need it, who are truly in trouble, and also for those of us who are in fear and not as much in trouble. Some of those of you who have captured this essence and are peaceful can do so much more as a light to those who are not. This is what all of the reason we're here is for this. So it was a great question. This is why we chose it, so we could have a discussion more than giving you an absolute solution of here are the points to do, is to talk about the whole idea of what happens with coherence and thank goodness for people like Lynn McTaggart and Greg Braden and those who are working with global consciousness issues.
So let's do that right now. Let's, with our beautiful community joining together, let's create a field of coherence. And I invite you to close your eyes. You may even wish to place your hands in a posture where you are both sending energy and receiving energy. And in this infinity loop of connection between sending and receiving, let's place our attention into our soul. Each of us has a soul, and our soul, while we feel it is the individual soul, for us, it is part of a collective family of souls. We are connected by soul family. And our intention is that in this space that we are creating this field together with soul family, we send a wave of benevolence and hope and peace to every soul that is on the planet during this time of great shift. And so we just send the wave, benevolence, hope, peace to every soul right now on our beautiful planet that is going through a great shift. And in these next few weeks and months to come, we will radiate this experience of benevolence, hope, and peace outwardly, just as an energetic field. Nothing to be said, simply just to be in that space of radiating out into the soul family. You may now gently relax your hands as we welcome the continuation of the energy of benevolence, hope and peace from Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I am Kryon of Magnetic Service. We have said so often that this is not a message that is global, but a message that is personal. We'll say that again. These are indeed difficult times for so many. And yet we have said and will continue to say that the shift is upon you. This shift, which was predicted by the ancients, was predicted so many times in my channeling before 2012, is here. Almost a decade into it, now you see what we were talking about. It's not necessarily a shift that's going to bring you wars between countries like you thought might happen at this time. It's a war, a true war of dark and light. And you're starting to see the results of it. The answers that were given, even today, are about getting away from the fray to a position where you can see and feel your own magnificence and get yourself through it. Really, there are several aspects of this. How do you create more light? How can we move, you would say, this planet into more light, into more peace? That is one aspect. But while you're doing it, how do you survive it? How can you be coherent with that which is spiritual when all around you there's noise of darkness? And so we bring to you a series of channels to help you understand more of who you are, to help you get to that place. These 4 channels this month are going to be called the extraordinary human soul. Or if you want to relabel them, the extraordinary attributes of the soul. Any of those things, we are talking about your soul. There'll be 4 channels, all of them available to everyone. Dear ones, we have spoken about the soul since we arrived. 31 years we have talked about the human soul. In 2014, we developed a program. I asked my partner to put this together where we talked about the attributes, the 9 attributes of the human soul and how they interfaced with you, your Akash, and all of the pieces and the parts of you that are esoteric, even your innate. That teaching we may do again, and I'll say that again. But for now, I'd like to speak about 4 extraordinary attributes that you need to be reminded of at this point in time, so that you will understand who you are. Wow. If you could see yourself like we see you, it would take your breath away. Magnificent. Not just biology in a skin, with a brain, with some consciousness. That's so often how so many of you just see yourselves. How are we going to get from A to B, and how